Only dance on this earth for a short while. Vinyl community, I'm back to do a recent vinyl finds video, and this time it's going to be all psych, prog, private pressed, folk, some 70s rock, and you know, the ordinary stuff. No jazz this time, so yeah. And you know the deal, if you like my videos, please subscribe. And if you like this video, at the end, please give it a thumbs up. It will spread to even more people. So, what did I get in the sort of the crates? Well, cue music. So I'm going to start with a sort of an anticlimactic record. I've been hunting this for a pretty long time, and I've seen it. It's not a hard record to get at all, but I've seen it in crates and stuff like that. It's been too overpriced or not that great of shape. Finally, I found it for a great price, and that is NICO's Drama of Exile, 1981, on the Aura label. Aura. So this is a little bit more of a poppy record, or a attempt for the sort of the 80s production NICO. And I have to say that this is not my favorite NICO. It's even the worst NICO record that I've heard, unfortunately. And with some records that is in this sort of price range, I just wait till I get the record, and that will be my first sort of reaction to listening to the music. And I've sampled this online a little bit, so, and I love NICO, so it was a no-brainer getting this. I've been hunting it, but when I put the needle down, it just doesn't do it for me. I think it's a sort of a sloppy, pretty dull 80s sort of record. I will file this, and I will play this again down the line, but if it doesn't do it by then, I'll probably just sell it or something like that. So NICO. The next one, again, something that I've seen in the crates, and I haven't picked it up, especially the sort of the early or the first press with a different cover artwork. This is the Swedish version of this, and with a different artwork, which I find more appealing, or more like in the sort of the vein of the record, that's sort of the 60s look to it. This is the Spencer Davis Group Autumn 66 from 1966, and it has some killer tracks on it. And this, in this case, it's a Fontana release, exclusive here in Sweden. Not a collectible of sorts. That it's not a rare record. But it's a good one. I mean, Spencer Davis Group is not my favorite 60s group. Let's just get that out of the way. But this is, it's not better than the second record, but I think that it's a solid sort of 60s record. And every time I hear Steve Winwood, his playing and his voice, he's just so damn soulful. Like the most soulful white dude in the 60s of England, at least. Great record, great music. And I'm going through these first ones pretty quickly, but if you only have heard Spirit in the Sky with Norman Greenbaum, I urge everyone to pick this up. This is, and I have to pronounce this sort of right, Pelaluma. It's a Reprise Records, it's a gatefold, and it's very down to earth. I think this is the last one that he did. I don't know if it's better than Spirit in the Sky, but it's definitely worth picking up, because this costs next to nothing, and it's better than expected. Let's just say that. I mean, I've been collecting fucking psych or psychedelic records for quite some time, but the sort of the Boss Town sound, or the Boss Town collective of artists in the 60s has been something that just like, apparently, if I did my research correct, and I haven't read everything about this, it was the equivalent of what was happening in San Francisco with that sort of San Francisco sound, and the Boss Town sort of, I don't know if it's the States or the whatever, they tried to do something similar. And one of those artists that were in that sort of the Boss Town grouping was ORPHEUS. They released 4 records, I think, and it's hard to guess which one was, because I haven't done the research, as I said. They released all 3 records in 1968, and this is one of them. So I don't know if this is the first one, second one, but it's self-titled. This is a pop psych record, and maybe in my opinion a little bit too much pop of the pop psych. I got this free in a huge bag of records that I bought by a collecting friend here in Sweden. He threw this in for free. So I'm really glad I have it. It's a solid record, a pop psych record all the way through. It's great. So if you find it for a good price, I would pick it up. I mean, maybe it's more of your bag than mine, but I'm glad I didn't pay anything, or not too much anyway. The next one is, and now we're getting into the sort of the heavy stuff, not only in collecting wise, but also in music quality, because this is a gem. This is the Electric Toilet in the Hands of Karma. I think that this was released the first time in 1970, but this is the second press, and the second press in this case was from 1983. Great year. On Psycho Records, and Psycho Records have made some killer reissues. They really went out there in 1983 reissuing some great obscure classics. How do you describe this music? I don't know. It's called, I think, and there's even a song, but it was called Mississippi Hippie Music. So it's a US group. The record is from 1970, and from Mississippi. And in my opinion, it's a fussed out sort of Hammond driven, maybe, Acid Archives classic. And I really think that the sort of the Mississippi sound in this case is there. Maybe if I'm gonna sort of throw any group out there, it's Jefferson Airplane, maybe somewhere along that line, but it really has that sort of swampy country-esque quality to it, and it's much more fussed out. They really, I love that they're building up like a fuzz guitar or fuzz bass wall behind it, really far back, really like a carpet almost over the sort of the lyrics, and that also sort of sets this aside from everything else that I have heard from this time period. And there were a lot of good records released in 1970, but it's so damn interesting, and all the tracks are great, but there are two tracks that is just mind blowers, and Within Your State of Mind, the second track on the first side, is a psych dirty swamp psych masterpiece. It's a great one. So yeah, highly recommended. It's the original press of this is stupid money, but this one you can get for a great one. I think there's also other reissues, but check it out. Highly recommended. Yeah, and another Bosstown Records. Now I have to take the shit out from the plastic sleeve, because it's not every day that I find this stuff, to be honest, and I love it every time I do. This is the Apple Pie Motherhood Band, their second release, I think. But this is a promotional copy, not for sale DJ copy, and a white label promo. I don't know if you can see that on Atlantic Records. As I said, I never find this stuff, and the Bosstown sort of collective artists, yeah, this is also one of them. Apple Pie made 2 records and then just went out to obscurity. They had some lineup changes, a lot of personnel going in and out of the band, and they could, I think that when I've read in between the lines that they had a problem with management and stuff like that. So yeah, 2 records, both are killer, and maybe this is even the best one. And what I also love about this is the production quality, because this really sounds like an Atlantic Records record. Great production, great sort of pressed record. It's crisp, you can hear every sort of instrument, and this is from 1969, so it's not a new press, but the grooves are deep. Sounds terrific. So yeah, Apple Pie, Great one. The next one is a heavy 70s record, heavy rock record. And I've seen this a lot of times here in Sweden on like record shop walls, like the Holy Moly wall. Always sort of pretty high priced. And I guess that here in Sweden, maybe it's a popular record, or it was just like some sort of, we got a deal in the 70s for getting imported records. I have no idea, but I see them quite a few times. And I have sampled it online. I haven't really liked it. It didn't click, if you know what I mean. I've tried it like 2 times and it didn't work. But when I found it for like a steal and didn't have to pay like almost anything for it, it was a no-brainer. I mean, I had to get it, even if it's not the best 70s record. But it's certainly not the worst. And the record I'm talking about, is Frantic by Conception. A lot of you, I think, recognize the cover artwork because it's a cover that really stands out, and I think that that's one of the reasons also why it goes up on the wall. It feels a little bit like this is 1970, but it feels like an early sort of heavy rock, or almost, it's called proto-metal record. It's the inside of the gatefold, and it sounds little bit like this, like sort of the garage gritty sort of genre. I don't know. And it's on a pretty nice and cool label. I don't know if you can see that, but this is the Lizard label. It has a cat on it, which is fairly strange because it's called Lizard. I have had a soul record by a guy called Nolan that was on Lizard, and I know there were some other pretty interesting records on that label, but only a handful was released. So look that label up if you're interested in sort of label history. It was a subsidiary, I don't know what it's called, but to Ampex Records. I think it lived through 1 or 2 years maybe, and a handful of records, as I said. Yeah, the Frantic record, heavy 70s hard rock. Yeah, check it out. The next one is a very interesting British band, actually, and this is in, except for a punch hole, this is in great shape. Look at this shit. The band I'm talking about is ECLECTION. One of the most disturbing sort of covers I've ever seen, with all those sort of mannequins on the front cover. In 1968 on Elektra, and I managed to find a copy that had the insert in mint shape, and also a sort of a pamphlet of, I guess, Elektra releases. And here's the sort of the brown big E label. And this is a gem, really. They only released this, and that's a shame. But I get it, because the story is that the band was formed, and it's sort of a mixed bag of different guys from different countries and cultural backgrounds, and they sound more West Coast psych, American West Coast psych, than anything British, in my opinion. Even if they have their distinct own sound, I don't think that if you listen to it that you don't hear the sound, but you can hear that they are influenced by people like Jefferson Airplane and Mamas and Papas, and, you know, the classic sort of lineups or artists from this time period. But as I said, England, they have their distinct sort of sound. Now, only released this one. Have no idea what they went on to make after this, but this is a psych gem, in my opinion. Highly recommended. Check it out. And talking about awesome record covers that you almost did, the worlds that you want to live in, and talking about Mercury also, this is, yeah, I didn't know that I put them next to each other, but I did, and that was kind of cool. It's this one, and I think a lot of you know about this. I'm probably the last one to really get a hold of a copy of this. This is Alexander Rabbit, the Hunchback of Notre Dame, The Bells Were My Friends. And we really need to talk more about this, so that more people, not people like me, don't know about this record, because it's such a great record. Great musicianship, great singer, it's just solid, just like the Dulcimer record. But how they just released one record is mind-boggling. I mean, it's a tragedy and a mystery. It starts off really bombastic, and then it slows down a little bit, or not slowing down, but it's a little bit more like radio-friendly poppier. But I love that they start the record with a 7-minute long title track, which is a progressive sort of gem. It's a almost theatrical in its performance, and the singer starts off really sort of kind of mellow. It reminds me a little bit of Peter Gabriel and other sort of those sort of progressive UK bands. But when he after like 5 minutes or something like that into the song, when he starts screaming out the words, I really got a sort of refused vibe to it. When Dennis Lyxzén is really like with all of his build-up emotion screams out the lyrics. That's what I'm hearing on this first track. And as I said, later on in the record, it gets a little bit more mellow and radio friendly sort of, but it's psychedelic, it's progressive, it's everything you want from this sort of record. If you watch my videos, you know what I like, and this is what I like. So if you find this for under €30, I would pick this up. I bet you won't get disappointed. And remember, when you drop the needle on the first track, crank that volume up, because you will thank me. Okay, shit, this next one, I almost creamed my pants when I saw this in a local store nonetheless, because I never find this stuff. Immediately when I saw the cover, I knew that something was up, and I started reading the Nativity by the Joyful Noise, a lot of Christian sort of biblical drawings, and Jesus on the cross on the backside, and I took my phone up, I did short, fast research, and it just said Christian progressive rock, and I didn't need to read more. This was going home with me, and I'm glad I did, because as I said, I never find this stuff. Here's an insert, and here's the record. This is a private pressed sort of Christian progressive record on a label called Christ is the Answer. I mean, come on. Shit, Christ is the answer. There you go. It doesn't get better than that. I mean, when I got home, when I dropped the needle, it wasn't sort of love at first listen or anything like that, and still not. It promised more in my mind than it delivers. I mean, it's well played, it's well produced, it's super Christian lyrics, which in my opinion, because I'm a Swede, I don't understand half of it. Well, I do. I can speak and talk English, but I mean, mostly it's the music that I sort of get drawn to. It's well made. It's well produced. It's well performed. It's well sung. The songs are okay. I mean, it's not super strong. Some of them are. Some are turds. What really hit me right away was the recording quality. I thought that it was really good recorded. So I had to look up the studio where it was recorded and where the Christ is the Answer recorded their material. And it was a studio that also recorded Styx records. So then I knew that, okay, that's why it sounds great. But song-wise, it's just it's a okay sort of private pressed record, in my opinion. Nothing to really write home about. And I had so high expectations of the last song, called Nativity. It's 10 minutes and 50 seconds long, and I thought, like, finally I'm gonna get the sort of the fussed out progressive Christ song, but it's one of the worst songs on the album. So not recommended. It's just a fun record to find out there for next to nothing. I didn't pay that much for it. So, and continuing on with the sort of the private pressed records. And this is, I won't say masterpiece, but now I said it. But it's not a masterpiece, but it's a damn good loner folk record, private pressed loner folk record. And this is that sort of record that would be in the Acid Archives if Acid Archives wasn't just records up until 1982. This is a 1985 record, so this is 3 years too late. But I bet that Patrik Lundborg would have put this record in there if it was until 1985. I bet he would. It's such a gem. And here's the cover artwork. And please write down in the comments if you know what album this is. I had no idea about this. A collecting friend here in Sweden, we did a trade. No, I bought records from him, and he had this for sale. He thought that he was done with this one, and I'm so glad that he was. So this guy, he that made the record, I think it's this guy at least, or maybe this guy. I have no idea. It's called Scott SESKIND. Scott SESKIND is a US citizen. He only made this in 1985, and there's no information online about this. I have no idea. Maybe my friend that I bought it from knows more about this. I'll check with him, but tried to Google the shit out of it and couldn't find anything really more than just sold copies of this. And it's not a super expensive record. It's just a really rare record. And I mean, it's not the same thing, is it? It's rare. You've never seen this. It seems like you've never seen this anyway. I love this sort of stuff. This is why I collect records, to find these gems. A loner folk record with just solid, strong songs, great sung, great guitar work, and that's it. It's just like music from and for the soul, really. And the liner notes on this is not liner notes at all. This is just some sort of message from Scott. And he says that, my name is Scott. I was born in September 59. I grew up in the suburbs of Los Angeles. Went to school, my first jobs, yada yada. I went to this sort of holiday. And he finished it off with, as of today, April 23rd, 1985, my girlfriend is 3 months pregnant. And we're planning to move back to Boulder, Colorado when this record is finished. Here's my address. That's it. So it's not liner notes. It's not information or bragging information about the guy. It's more like he's reaching out. Like, this is me. This is my record. This is how I communicate. If you like this, write me. We'll get a discussion going. We get a conversation going. Like, I want to be your friend. We're moving to Colorado. I think that it's just so damn cool. Yeah, very, very strange, very weird, fantastic record. Highly recommended if you find a copy. And if you own a copy or if you find a copy, write me. I want to know more people that knows about this record. Okay, 2 more to go, then I'll let you go. Then I'm done. This is a pop psych masterpiece. Fuck, I'm saying it all the time, but this really is one of those sort of highlights of psychedelic music. And finally we are going to San Francisco. So the Boss Town sound, and now we're going to San Francisco. And in San Francisco we find this one, the only record they released, the Travel Agency, 1968, I think, US first press on the very small Viva label. And I don't think that they released much more than this, so almost like a private press record. Not really, I don't think so. So the band have obviously listened to Beatles, like many others, and I think that the singer sounds a lot like Paul McCartney, and there's great harmonies, very like two people, not like the sort of Simon and Garfunkel harmonies, more like the Paul and John harmonies. But that's where the similarities of the travel agency and Beatles stop, because what you get over this sort of great melodies, great songs, great singing is fussed out flanging guitars, fussed out bass, and a drummer that is just from another planet. He plays his heart out like the animal in the Muppets, but they are mixed so far in the background. So it's just the sort of the flanging guitar, Rickenbacker guitar, and the vocals. They are the main piece. They are the ones that the producer wanted to have front stage, and the other ones in the background. And that's both good and a shame, because it's good because it suits the music perfectly. You get a wall of fuzz sound just hitting you. But in the background, if they put it far in front of the stage, I bet that the drummer would be the poster boy of this. He would be the main character because he's that good. And the production is like a psychedelic dream, really. It sounds so damn good. It's recorded. I don't know. I've listened to records that is put out today by very well-known labels and recorded in fantastic studios that sounds way worse than this. Just listen to the first song, but also the second song on the first side, Sorry You Were Born. My bass were thumping so my heart nearly stopped. No, I'm just kidding. But it's a thumping sort of bass, really good produced. So this is a classic psych record from the US, and one that you read about when researching obscure sort of psychedelic records from the US. I recommend this all day long. If you find this for between 40 and 60 euro, I would get this without a doubt. I bet you that it won't leave the turntable any day soon after getting it. And in my opinion, this should be in every psychedelic collector's shelf. I'm so glad I finally have a copy of this. I mean, we could talk about the term grail all day long, and I even did a video about it, just reminiscing a little bit of what my thoughts of what a grail is, and the travel agency is somewhat of a grail, maybe for me and a lot of people, I think. But this record I'm going to show you now, this is a grail. This is a grail all day long. This is one of those sort of grail records. I don't think that many of you that watching this owns a copy of this, but I think that some of you know about it, and I think it's on some people's want list. And the record I'm talking about is this. This is Andrew with Whoops, private pressed record from Iceland in 1973. As you can see, it's not in the best shape ever. The cover is pretty banged up, but the record sounds great. Some ticks and some pops, but I mean, this is a rare record. So I'm super glad because I bought this for a really good price. Let's just keep it at that. And I know that a lot of people is labeling this as a heavy psych, Icelandic heavy psych record, and I think that that's a little bit of an unfair description of it because it's so much more. And maybe that's also the reason why it didn't sell as much as it maybe should have done back in the day, and maybe that's also why so few people know about it nowadays also, but the ones who know about it want it right away. It's so diverse. So yeah, it's all over the place really. It starts off with a typical sort of 70s hard rock or heavy rock track. Yeah, good. But then it just moves on to I don't know if it's the best description I can think of is a krautrock track in the vein of Ashra Temple or something like that. Totally different from the first track. Totally different. And awesome, called Himalaya. And then after that, we just move into this sort of art rock thing, and it's just like the singer and the song is just stolen from T-Rex and Mark Bolan right off. Like it sounds really like one of the hits from T-Rex. The next one is like a 50s almost rock and roll sort of doo-wop is the wrong word, but you know the sort of the Elvis song, the Elvis sort of sound, or Bill Haley or something like that, and we top it off. The last one is sort of acoustic baroque space ballad, and that's just the first side. I mean, we've just gone through the first side and we've been through the entire music history. It's insane. I mean, the last song is like a song that the zombies on Odysseus and Oracles wished were on that record, wish that they had written. So if you know your Icelandic sort of progressive or psychedelic history, you know of the band Ice Cross. They have a killer record cover looking like this. It's on a lot of people like me, our wish lists, and I don't think I've ever seen it in a store even. The bassist and the drummer was in Ice Cross. That's on this one, and both of them were released in 1973. So I guess that this was sort of the peak of those two persons' career. And I think also, if listening to Andrew and Ice Cross, I think that this is a better record. But that's just me, and now I have it, so maybe I'm a little bit biased. I don't know. Please write in the comments if you know about it or them, and tell me what you think of the two records. but yeah, glad to have it in the collection now. I'm gonna hunt for Ice Cross, no doubt. One day, maybe, I don't know. But I'm glad to have Andrew now in my sort of collection. So that's it. Man, we survived. Subscribe, you know the deal. Subscribe, give a thumbs up, comment. I need comments. I live for likes. I live for comments. That's why I do this. No, it isn't, but it's fun to show you my records. And I'll talk to you in my next video. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.